Donald Trump spent years using America's economic weight as leverage over Canada, tariffs, threats, pressure tactics. But now, Mark Carney has introduced something far more consequential than a trade adjustment. He's moving to restructure Canada's entire defense procurement system to reduce long-term dependence on Washington. This isn't just diversification, it's redesign. Carney outlined a clear framework: build, partner, then buy. First, build at home. Second, partner with trusted allies. Only after that, purchase abroad if necessary. That order matters. It signals that Canada's default setting is shifting from reliance to capacity. In practical terms, it means investing in Canadian aerospace, artificial intelligence, naval systems, cyber defense, and Arctic security. It means Canadian tax dollars circulating inside Canada first. And it means reducing the risk that any single foreign government can use supply chains as leverage.
Good morning, Geneviève Beauchemin from CTV News.
Morning.
You have spoken today about partnering up with the EU and Indo-Pacific countries, but there's a report that you are suggesting you are spearheading discussions with the EU and the CPTPP regarding a major new trade pact. Given that these two blocs have been in discussion since we're discussing in November, what actions have you taken to lead these particular discussions?
Well, the first thing to say is we're not alone in this idea. It's one of the first conversations I had with the Prime Ministers of Australia and New Zealand. We like-minded countries who see the merits in developing this. A series of conversations with President von der Leyen, Costa of the European Union and their respective roles, also with a number of leaders within the European Union and prospective members of the CPTPP. Canada's in a unique position. Remember, we have trading relationships, free trade relationships with over 1.5 billion people. We have, as you know, a free trade agreement with European Union, CETA. We are a founding member of CPTPP. So we're in a somewhat unique position in these discussions where we're part of both, so to speak, in a free trade respect, and so we can help broker a bridge between the two. This is something, it's interesting that there's a report. It's been hiding in plain sight. It's something I've been talking about for 6 months. I mentioned it in the Davos speech as well as one of the elements that were part of this variable geometry. The opportunity, and I'll finish on this.
Then came the scale of the plan. Roughly $180 billion in direct defense procurement, around $290 billion in broader defense and security infrastructure, an additional $80 billion over 5 years. A long-term goal of significantly increasing domestic sourcing, moving from roughly 1/3 of procurement to as much as 70% over the next decade. Those numbers don't describe a tweak, they describe a generational shift. Why does this matter geopolitically?
Of course, well, the opportunity is for all the members of those relevant countries, the countries that are part of both. It's the opportunity to have a rules-based trading bloc of 1.5 billion people with complementary economies, and also provides a basis potentially for further expansion out of that. So in a world where the multilateral system is being undermined, this is variable geometry. You start to put together blocks of like-minded countries on different issues. Canada can play a role there. We're one of the countries playing a role, and we'll continue those discussions going forward. Thank you.
We'll have time for one last question. Dernière question.
Oui.
Bonjour, Monsieur Carney, c'est Rania Massoud de Radio-Canada. J'aimerais savoir, dans la stratégie, on mentionne qu'on va simplifier l'approbation des licences d'exportation. Comment on va le faire techniquement, alors que, tout en garantissant que les armes canadiennes ne vont pas se retrouver dans un pays ou entre des mains de groupes qui sont accusés de violer le droit international?
OK, merci pour votre question. Si ça ressemble, ma réponse va ressembler à une réponse il y a quelques minutes, parce que on commence avec nos alliés qui partagent aux mêmes valeurs du Canada, par exemple l'Union européenne. Premier point. Et il faut reconnaître.
Because leverage flows from dependency. For decades, The majority of Canada's major defense purchases flowed to the United States. That created interoperability and efficiency, but it also created structural vulnerability. When key systems, parts, and platforms come primarily from one country, that country holds influence, whether it uses it or not. Carney acknowledged that openly. He described it as dependency and then signaled it would change. By expanding partnerships with Europe, the United Kingdom, and Indo-Pacific allies, while building more at home, Canada reduces single-point reliance. This doesn't end cooperation with the U.S., but it balances it. Trump's America First approach has often emphasized using economic tools for strategic pressure. Carney's approach reduces the effectiveness of that strategy by narrowing the pressure points. When asked whether Canada can realistically compete with the U.S. defense industrial base, Carney's answer was measured. Canada will partner where needed, but it will grow its own capabilities. The goal isn't isolation, it's resilience. For years, roughly three-quarters of Canada's defense capital spending went south of the border. That worked in a stable environment. But in a more volatile political climate, heavy reliance becomes a strategic risk. Carney's shift treats volatility as a permanent factor, not a temporary phase. Trade diversification was the first step. Defense diversification is the second. When both economic and military dependencies shrink, so does external leverage. This moment isn't dramatic in tone. It's deliberate, it's structural, and over time, structural changes matter more than rhetoric. If you're interested in how these long-term shifts reshape Canada's position globally, subscribe to Capital Insight. We focus on the strategy behind the headlines and the consequences that unfold quietly, but reshape the balance of power.